Hello, my name is Charles Hearn, and this is a tutorial about 3D animation Blender and exporting Blender 3D animations to Microsoft XNA 4.0. The Blender version that I'm using is 2.6. Yep, 2.6. So most of this is just going to be Blender animating and exporting. Some of it I'll show you quickly how to import that into Visual Studio using the skin model example that Microsoft gives out, and the tweaking that you'll have to do to that is game specific. So that can be a little frustrating, but I'll show you a little bit how to do that, and should be fine. So some of the other people are creating tutorials about model animation Blender, so I will assume that you already have a model. Here's a model that I made of a little blob dude. He's you know, pretty simple. He doesn't have a whole lot of vertices, as you can see in edit mode. So yeah, has very few vertices, and it would actually be better for some of the movement if you have more vertices, but it's pretty simple here, and I can show you easily with these few vertices. So here's your model. The first thing that you're going to want to do is add bones to your model. So you can go to add armature, single bone. These are the basic units of your armature, which will be, you know, the armature is what you use to move around your model. So you're going to have one main root bone, which is going to be this guy right here. And you want to move him to sort of the center area, and in edit mode you can just hit E and it will extrude more bones from whichever vertex you had selected on the parent bone. Cool. So we got some legs there, basically, and some thigh bones, and then we're going to want some arms too. No, don't want that. So you can right click to undo stuff, if you didn't already know that. And we can move these, detach them from the root bone, but they're still parented to that root bone, so I don't want that guy. And then you can grab these. That's just hitting the G button, which you can do with any of your models. Just selecting something and hitting G will grab that object there, and you can put it wherever you want. And you just want it to be kind of, you know, think generally about where all of these bones need to go, where they would go in a regular body. Think about this somewhat as a regular body. So your joints are kind of like where your leg joints need to be, and that should be good. So these are all one armature, hopefully, which we can check out. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to want to now make the mesh or these bones a parent of the mesh. So you can hit space and it'll pop up a little search thing. You can do make parent, and you're going to want to do it with empty groups. So we'll weight paint it ourselves, so you won't have only the mesh moving that you want to be moving. Cool. Cool. So now that's parent. It should move the mesh. Yeah, so it's moving the mesh, but that's the entire armature. So let's see if I need to go to pose mode and have only one bone selected. It moves, yeah, see, look, it's moving part of the mesh, which is what we wanted to do, but obviously there is something terribly wrong going on there. So Control Z, undo that stuff. And so now we're going to weight paint. And for that you want to select the mesh in object mode and go to weight paint. Cool. So here is the weight painting screen. Blue currently I've set to just 0. And let's see, so each of these vertex groups describes part of, it's a bone, all of the mesh that is going to be moved by that bone. And I have some leftover vertex groups here, so we're going to just clear those out and start over from scratch. Alright, sorry about that. Let's actually edit these bones so we can figure out a lot easier which ones we're editing. So we'll do this left arm, right arm, root, that's the root. Everything should move with that guy. Left thigh, right thigh, wait, nope, left leg. Okay, so they're all named now, and I'm just gonna go back and make, yeah, so we don't have any vertex groups, so I'm just gonna go back and do this again, and that'll create all of the empty vertex groups, hopefully. Let's see here. Here we go. Awesome. So we have all of our vertex groups there, and now we can weight paint. Actually, first let's assign everything to the root node. So we're going to do a weight of 1, which means all of the vertices that are in this mesh will move with the root node, the root bone. Just hit assign, and we're good. If you don't do that, you'll get some funky error messages in Visual Studio, because every vertex needs some weight assignment. Alright, and now we can finally go into weight painting. So mess around with this a little bit, figure out what size brush you want, whatever. And then anything that is completely moving for one bone, you can just give a weight of 1. So let's do left arm up here, that's this guy. Just paint those vertices. Blam, blam. Might be a little too strong, but we can go back and figure that out later. so we got our left arm and leg. Yeah, we can leave auto normalize on. You'll see what that does in a minute. So right thigh, you can just give all this stuff. Maybe not that. Maybe we can crank it down to a little lower weight on that. Left thigh. Alright, okay, sorry about that. The recording program just crashed for some reason. But now we have all the vertex groups weighted. So as you can see, we have the root, which I renamed chest. You got your right arm, your left arm, here's one thigh, left thigh, right leg, left leg. So that'll control what parts of him move when we move certain bones. And now we can go back and select our bones and put them in pose mode. So those bones just changed a little bit there. And there's already default pose that I whipped up to begin the run sequence. Alright, so here at the beginning of a run sequence, we're going to have to change everything around a little bit. I changed the bone type from octahedral to stick, just because I know which side of the bone is which, and I think the sticks look better, easier to play with. So let's go into animation mode now. Not that. We're going to want to create another screen over here, which you do by just clicking on one of these little dudes and dragging it over, and we are going to make this our dope sheet. And that just takes care of keying sets, which we will talk about in a minute. Okay, so we're going to start off by, well, you can change this, we're not going to need this anymore, to timeline. Cool. So we're going to make a little animation here, just of him walking, and we want to start out on the first frame. And the position he is in right now is actually fine for that. I do not need all this stuff up here. Okay, awesome. So, you want to start some keyframes. So we're going to do automatic keyframe insertion, turn that on, and yeah, for objects and bones, and using our active keying set only. We're going to set our active keying set to location, rotation, and scale, but pretty much everything we're going to be doing is rotation based, because you don't really want these bones going anywhere or changing size, because bones don't change size. So that'll be good, and we can select all of our bones holding down shift, selecting all of those with the right mouse button, and insert keys for those keyframes. So that records the position of all of your bones. in this specific position. So zoom in here. Get really specific, and let's just insert every 5 frames a new one. So we can start out by toning this all back, and we just make it go on back to normal. So everything is going to go back to the rest position, which we can do this way. If you remember what the rest position was, of course. Wrong direction. Alright, so here's our rest position. He's leaning forward because he's kind of in an outright sprint in this direction. But he is basically, other than the chest, in his rest position. And then we can go to the 11th frame and just do the opposite of what was in this frame. So we're going to want the left side going, at least this left foot going away from you. You can kind of look at the positions here and make it opposite. This takes a lot of fiddling just to make sure everything looks correct, right? And I already started out going in the wrong direction. Alright, so that's the direction we want to be going in. He is kicking that back big time. Maybe scale that back a little bit less. And this is going to be coming out in front of him. Maybe we can try to distance those two legs. And possibly try to fold this one back underneath him. As I said, this takes a lot of playing around just to make sure everything looks correct. You might want to actually get up and try it out yourself. See what the animation you're trying to do actually looks like. So this going in the opposite direction, kind of back, but it's automatically coming away from the body, so I'll try to push it back towards the body, and this is going to go out in front of him, just like that. And that's pushing in a little bit, so let's see if I can push it back out. Cool. And you can look at it as a solid and kind of make sure everything looks alright, which I think it does. Back to wireframe, and we want it after, you can kind of scroll through and see how everything's going so far. So we have like half of a walking cycle there. And shoe, we want to get these keyframes from the medium rest stance that we have here, and put them in again. So I'm going to select all, which you can do by tapping A, and then select these keyframes, just just by hitting B, which will create a little box there, and Control Copy, Control C, and Control Paste, Control V. So now we have the opposite. We have a full, should go back to normal, but it's not. And there we go. So should bring it, yep, back to normal. And last but not least, we're going to want to end where we started. So just do the same thing, deselect these with A, select these guys, and Control C your original set, and 21 would be 5 frames in the future, and paste that in there. Awesome. So that should make a complete loop. So you can look at this by saying the end is 21, your start is obviously 1, and playing it. And it looks pretty good. There's a pretty sweet walking animation, and obviously you could animate it a little bit more by putting more bones in, maybe making the root bone or some sort of chest bone and a head bone that bob up and down to give it a little bit more life. But this is good enough for the tutorial. So now I'm going to show you how to export it. Make sure we're still taping here. Alright. Awesome. So you're going to want to export to FBX format. And we will do walk test 2. And some of the older versions of Blender, actually the one directly before this, 2.59, you have to go, I believe, to user settings and add-ons and find the XNA export specific to animations. But this one does it for you for the FBX. You already have XNA options included. And it's not too difficult, just name it, XNA options, and export it. Character walk test 2. Awesome. And this is the name of the specific animation that you exported, armature action. And we're going to use that in a minute. Okay, so this is the Windows Microsoft skinning sample, and you can find this online. Just type in skinning example Microsoft, or skin model pipeline Microsoft, something like that, and download it for XNA 4.0 and open it, and you'll get this stuff. So the skin model pipeline is what processes all of your models, and skin model windows, all of this stuff. Also does, they're all classes to control the animations. And this is what I already have open, is what you're going to want to integrate with your code. And that takes a lot of fiddling around, just to integrate it, but I'll show you the big things that you need to do. Okay, so I already have a bunch of different tests in here, but you want to go to your models and add existing item. Wherever I save this, character walk test 2, add that. And you want to make sure that your content processor is, as I said, skin model processor, or else it won't work. Then you need to make sure that the model that you're loading is walk test 2, the specific name of your FBX. And your animation clip needs to be the same as this up here, armature action. Armature action. Alright. So this should work if we don't get any build errors. Oop, let's see what the build error was. Alright, yeah, this is a common problem that I ran into. So the model that I yanked out and used for this example does not have a UV image mapped onto it. So I'm sure one of the other tutorials, and there are a bunch of great tutorials online for UV mapping your models. I don't think that I have to go over that. So I'm going to whip out I'm just going to go with one of the FBX files that I already have here that is UV mapped. So character walk, and its clip is just called walk. You can rename them. It's not too difficult, but I didn't in this tutorial. So you can see that I have to actually get rid of this. You can see how this is working in our game. There you go. As you can see, you have a moving model on the screen. And that is the entirety of this tutorial. Just make sure there are a couple of common errors that people run into, and one is the skin model pipeline one. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just fiddling around. If you get an error code, type it into Google and see what other people, what the problem has been. And pretty much everybody's seen every error code, so I'm sure you can get through it. So that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was somewhat useful. Signing off.